Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of The Sugar Show with myself, Emily McGuire, and Caryn Thompson. Today we are joined by someone who is very, very special in the world of LCHF. We have Dr. Caryn Zinn with us. Caryn is a registered dietitian and sports nutritionist. Her master's degree was in the area of sports nutrition, and her doctoral studies focus on how to achieve sustainable weight loss. Caryn currently combines academic work with her own clinical dietetic practice. She believes this mix of academia and practice keeps her real and on the cutting edge of knowledge and busy. It has been 2 years since Caryn altered her nutrition philosophies from the mainstream food pyramid approach towards the whole food LCHF lifestyle. When LCHF first came onto my radar, I initially dismissed it. After all, it goes against the grain of much of the perceived academic wisdom. But going back over the evidence has convinced me the current recommendations are based on flawed science. Known as the Whole-food Dietitian and a leader in this field, Caryn's mission is to influence the thinking and practice of the dietetic profession to understand the potential improved health benefits of LCHF nutrition. Caryn, welcome, and we're so excited to have you on.
Thank you very much. I think I'm more excited to be on.
Yay! So I was lucky enough to meet Caryn when she was here for Professor Noakes' trial in Cape Town in 2015, and she is just one of the most phenomenal people that I have the privilege of knowing. She's really gone out and put herself out there, and that's where we're going to get started, Caryn. How did your loyalty towards the traditional food pyramid and dietary guidelines change? What made you change?
It was a time. It was sort of towards the end of the year, about 3.5 years ago, sort of November, December-ish, when a colleague of mine and co-author of a book that we've written, Rock the Fat, Professor Brian Schofield, who I work with, he's always talking about weird and wonderful ideas, and he started bringing up the whole, have you seen these studies, low carb? And I'm like, yeah, I know about low carb, Atkins, it's just a lot of nonsense. And I just thought I'm just going to tell him it's a lot of nonsense, which I really thought it was. And then he said to me, just read the stuff. And I started reading it, and I started thinking, look, I'm going to actually find the evidence that will shut him up, for once and for all. And that's when I found the groundswell of information and all the evidence that didn't exist to justify, the whole food pyramid approach. So looking at a lot of evidence and then thinking kind of logically about all the physiological mechanisms and why we manage diabetes with carbohydrates in the mainstream system and why are we all about low fat? It just didn't make any sense to me. So this is November, December-ish, and thank goodness for that time of year, because I went away on my holiday, my summer holiday, and thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to not be a dietitian anymore. I'm so confused. And I came back with in the next year with a completely different viewpoint, really. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. That was about 3.5 years ago.
I think that's amazing. And the other thing is that people are always saying there is no evidence. There are no quality scientific studies to back up LCHF. And when we say to them, well, can you provide us with studies to back up the traditional food pyramid and dietary guidelines, there's complete silence. I mean, how many studies and quality studies? Yeah, sorry?
No, I was just going to say that comment in itself is nonsense. There are some really good quality studies to back up the LCHF approach. The difference is that there are a small bunch of well-designed, randomized controlled trials that show really good outcomes for LCHF. Whereas if you look at the mainstream approach, there are lots of studies, but they're all longitudinal studies, they're all correlation-based studies. The RCTs don't exist, so there might not be a massive amount of evidence, because RCTs are quite hard to do, and they're incredibly expensive. But there are some efficacy studies that are done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, once you switched to LCHF, low carb, healthy fat, I know you started by experimenting on yourself, and I know that you've never had a weight problem or anything like that. So, you know, what was your journey?
Yes, so my journey was a very uneventful journey. I don't have a weird and wonderful story to tell. I think I'm going to have to make one up, really. But sometimes I think that actually not having a personal story makes me sometimes even more credible, because I just think it's a better way of eating. So I always ate quite well. I mean, let's face it, I was never a junk food addict. I never had lots of fizzy drink, all that kind of stuff. But I was, you know, pasta, rice, muesli bars, crackers, you know, toast cereal. You know, I was a muesli girl. That was me. And then I started experimenting, and I didn't feel any difference because I felt pretty good beforehand. I didn't lose any weight. My health didn't improve because my health was pretty good. But I did find that I was not hungry, and I found that I was very calm over the day. So that sort of sense of calm and that sense of just ease of going about my day was the only difference that I found. But it was very profound. Like, not feeling hungry is quite an amazing feeling to have. I mean, I used to be that person that would go to the airport with 3 muesli bars in my handbag in case I got hungry, you know, and couldn't find anything that was low in fat.
Hi, husband.
And now, you know, I have my breakfast and I don't panic. And I have my lunch when I'm ready to have my lunch. That might be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or it might be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's that sense of not being hungry and being calm that is the change for me, and I just find that amazing.
And within your private practice, how was the shift for you as a professional, switching from this, you know, the original food pyramid to this other way of doing things? And how does best practice come into that?
Yeah, so once I experimented with myself, and I realized that I didn't, you know, get heart disease and die, I decided that I was going to experiment with my clients. But of course, I didn't experiment with them without them being willing. So, you know, I'd explain what was going through my mind, and I'd say, look, this is totally up to you. We can do it one way or the other. And of course, people know that way doesn't work. The mainstream way doesn't work for weight loss and health outcomes long term. So they, you know, people are up for these sorts of things. So, you know, I never forget that first client that was sitting in front of me that I told that he needs to get the margarine out of his fridge and put butter in there. I can still remember the day, and I can still remember my office sort of closing in on my face, thinking, what am I doing? I'm going to kill this. You have these feelings when you first get into it, because my whole professional life I've been told that saturated fat is bad. So, you know, I was pretty confident with the research in my head at that point, but of course unleashing it on people is quite a different story. But, you know, people were totally up for it. And then, you know, they started trickling back for their follow-ups with not only reports of weight loss, but reports of these weird and wonderful, amazing outcomes, like improved sleep and skin conditions clearing up and knee pain reducing, and, you know, like weird and wonderful things. And I'm thinking, you know, this sounds like an infomercial, you know, when we're selling a product and you go, you know, buy this and it will do this, that, and the other. And all we were doing is focusing on whole food, whole unprocessed foods. That's it. And not things like go away and drink a bottle of cream and eat some blocks of butter. It was like, just eat normally, drop the packaged food, and let's get a bit of healthy fat in there. And I was just dumbfounded at the that the response and the outcomes and the improvements that I saw and that I still see, and I still get hair, my hair still stands on end when people come in and say this is just the best thing. Not sliced bread, because we know that's not good.
And just coming on to look at it from a professional standpoint, Caryn, is how have you found it with your peers? So being a dietitian, have you come up against kind of lots of dietitians, and how do you have that conversation with, say, a dietitian that just says this is wrong, this is bad, this is dangerous? Like, how do you approach that?
I think, you know, in the beginning, there was a lot of resistance and a lot of anti and a lot of kind of opposition that was coming, you know, directed personally to me, and it was done through my Facebook page. I'd get complaints from other dietitians to the dietitians board about things that I was saying, you know, on TV, or things that I was posting about. And the dietitians board in New Zealand, whether they agree with the complaint or not, they have to follow process. So I've spent the last several years, you know, planning rebuttals and getting evidence together and saying, you know, that, you know, the first thing, the first sentence that's in the Code of Ethics for Dietitians says you need to practice evidence-based nutrition. And my claim is that's exactly what I'm doing. In fact, you guys need to go back and look at your evidence, because if you're looking at quality, you know, comparing evidence, you're going to lose. So there was a big battle with that, and admittedly it's still continuing. It's still continuing. I'm still getting things coming in, but I must say there is a slight. I feel that there's a slight movement towards accepting this way. For some people, like a lot more dietitians are contacting me. And yeah, I had a meeting yesterday with 2 dietitians working in the public system in the area of diabetes, where LCHF, you know, makes even more sense. So, you know, which is so exciting to me, you know, working with these dietitians, which is, you know, nothing to do with my day job, but it's a really important thing that I need to do and I want to do, is try helping dietitians who are curious. It's the younger dietitians that are curious and are realizing that what they've been taught in mainstream universities is just not what's, you know, not going to benefit people. So there is a kind of quiet revolution, an underground dietetic revolution. Of course, the new dietitians that are changing their ways are a bit scared to put their hand up. And I get that. I totally get that. And for me, because I'm in such trouble anyway, I might as well carry on, you know, and help those who want to move forward in this area.
Yeah, no, that's, and I mean, even when I was taught, which, oh my gosh, when did I leave university now? I won't say. But even, you know, my teaching then was just so kind of dogmatic. It was unbelievable. And, you know, to go against it it's quite hard, particularly when you're at that age at university and you have a dietitian who's been practicing for 20 years in front of you. You know, kind of why would you believe what they're saying? So I think it is amazing that there are people like you that, you know, new people coming through, because there are people that are curious, you know, about it. So Caryn had said, obviously, at the beginning that you were in South Africa, obviously last year, and it was here for obviously Prof Knock's case. So what was that kind of like being over, and what is your kind of take on everything that's sort of happening with that?
Well, firstly, being back in Cape Town, which is my hometown, was just like the best thing ever. Even though it was sitting in a boardroom, I just loved every second of it, even though everyone else thought it was really boring. I just loved it. I just thought, I just feel totally privileged to be part of what's going on, because this is going to change the face of nutrition, regardless of the outcome. It's just outstanding that this is coming to ahead, and academics are talking and they're debating, and finally Prof Noakes got his opportunity to deliver his 625,000 slides, and people got to hear what the story is all about. So I think the initial complaint about the actual tweet, about him providing unconventional advice on Twitter, the whole question around unconventional advice, that's there's a question mark there, and I think the lack of understanding of what Twitter is makes this whole hearing a real sham. It's not medical advice. It's not crossing professional boundaries. He's not a practicing medical doctor anyway. Twitter is a forum where people discuss and debate and all that kind of stuff. I think the main problem with this whole trial and with everything that's going on in the world is, number one, health professionals don't know how to handle social media. They just don't. There's information overload, information access everywhere, and health professionals are totally confused, and every profession are suddenly damage controlling and going, let's write some social media guidelines, for our ethical code, and it's just knee-jerk. And they don't really understand what it's all about. So I think that's kind of interesting. I also think that the complainant, I think if she knew where this would end up, she probably wouldn't have done what she did. But I think we can thank her for doing this, because this is putting on the map. This is absolutely putting on the map, and like I said, irrespective of what the outcome is, I think LCHF is gaining so much momentum, and even if they rule against him, I think there'll be more people turning towards it. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think, as you said, so many people, it's brought so much light onto it that people are now looking at the evidence, and academics and health professionals, which was never there before. So yeah, I think it is a phenomenal movement that hopefully is going to continue to go with it. But coming back to everything, sorry.
I just want to add to that. I also recall several years ago when I heard I saw something in the Argus. I still follow the Argus, which is a local newspaper on my side of the world. And when Tim Noakes initially said something about banting and low carb, that was before I was into it, and I'm like, oh God, here we go again. But the thing is that I was very heavily involved in sports nutrition when he turned around the whole hyponatremia thing. So when he came out with the drink to thirst, I was the one who went, oh, but that's nonsense, because of course we know that if you're thirsty you were already dehydrated. And then watching how that turned around, when this came about, I thought, this is a guy who knows what he's talking about and is not afraid to say it. So that made me sit up and listen and think about it a lot more. Anyone who wants to take on, an A1 rated scientist, good luck.
I love that point there. That is a very, very good way of putting it. And yeah, I think it's going to be incredible to see what happens even over this year with it all. But coming to just the kind of ins and outs of LCHF, so if we're looking at actual practicalities, what is sort of your definition of LCHF? What would you say that kind of dietary approach looks like?
Yeah, I think, I think we haven't done ourselves a good service by giving it the LCHF title. I think that's probably done more harm than good, and that's why we've gone low carb, high fat to low carb, healthy fat. And in actual fact, I always say to people it's lower carb and higher fat than current guidelines, because it's just really whole food. That's what it boils down to. And for some people, you might do the extreme end of low carb, the ketogenic diet, and that would be maybe like 5% of my clients, honestly. And the rest of the people might might be somewhere like moderately low carb, or because there's no definition. You kind of, in practice, there's no guideline to follow, there's no textbook to follow, so you make up your own work and figure it out, which is great, actually. I think it's really good. But basically, I tell my clients to get their carbohydrates from a little bit of fruit, vegetables, unlimited non-starchy vegetables, maybe a bit of a limit on starchy, depending on what your goal is. Get some carbs from dairy product, a little bit, maybe the odd legume, and I also say, if you want to go out for a pizza, go out for a pizza, but do it like once a month. So there's no hard and fast, don't ever eat this food, but it's it's either the 80-20 a week or the 3-meal rule, whatever you want to call it, and I find that works to make it sustainable to fit into people's lifestyles. I am a little bit anti, and I'm going more anti, industrial seed oils all the time. So that when somebody says canola oil, it's like, don't go there. And that might be a bit of an extreme approach because it's just really the load. But I just think. I just think we just eat too much processed stuff. So if we can get our carbs from those foods and then bring back the good quality fats, and good quality fats, I am including saturated fat in that mix. So monopolysaturated, good quality foods, and minimizing trans fats and industrial processed seed oils, with high omega-6 fats, and protein's moderate, moderate intake. I don't necessarily tell people to cut take the skin off the chicken and the fat off the meat like I used to. If they want to, because they just want to, that's totally fine. But it's just simple.
Yeah, I love that.
It should be so simple.
I think you wrote this beautiful, amazing, fabulous book called What the Fat? Fats in, Sugars Out, with Professor Grant Schofield, yourself, and an amazing Michelin star chef called Craig Roger, or Trained, or whatever. I love this book because it's super simple, it's so easy to use, and it's real. It's real in so many ways. It makes eating real, great, whole food accessible. As you can see, I've got all these pink stickies. My kids love it. We use the recipes all the time. Tell me about the process of creating it.
Well, it was interesting. We got together as a group, and it wasn't my idea to write a book, but I was asked to join the team. And we sat around a table, and we said, should we write a book? I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. I think having a scientist and having a real practitioner, and then having someone who cooks, professionally and obviously personally as well, that's a really nice combination. And of course, that was what was seen in Real Meal Revolution as well. And then, most importantly, we had a little bit of a debrief about why we wanted to write the book. Like, number one, do you want to make money? Because if you do want to make money, probably don't write a book, when you've got a full-time job and a life and whatever. And we all unanimously agreed that our mission is to get this message out and to change the world. And that's why we wanted to write the book. And that's why we've written it, and that's why we've made it as practical and as user-friendly as we can. And the recipes have been designed purposely to cater for both the very simple cook and the simple eater, and it also extends to cater for those people who actually have a few cooking skills and can get into some of the more artsy, like almond pancakes and things like that. So we try to cater for a few people or a few groups. And we also try to make sure. Look, you can't give personalized diet plans in a book because it just doesn't work. Everyone brings their own unique situation and circumstance. So we try to get as much generalized information in there as possible to help people make a start on the journey. And then if they needed professional help, they can seek professional help. Nutritionists, dietitians, people who are working one-on-one with people, But a lot of people can just pick up the book and get a start, eat whole food, and have their life change in so many ways. Amazing.
It really is, and I put up an offer here on the side that people who are joining the webinar now and later for the replay can click on to buy it. At the moment, it's only available, ebooks are available, so get the ebook wherever you are in the world. Luckily, you can download the ebook, which is great. But Caryn has just brought out another book. Is that right?
Yep. So again, the three of us, we're a good What the Fat team, and we put out a What the Fat sports performance, and we've also got a What the Fat families in the pipeline. So
yeah. That is amazing. I just quickly want to touch on children. Is this way of life safe for them?
Totally. It's whole food. Whole food is safe for everyone. Real food that's aligned with nature, and it's whole food. Absolutely. I think the whole thing with children is that children don't necessarily need to know they're eating LCHF, but if they can just do it, then that would be ideal. But of course, kids don't do things without their parents doing things. So it's really the parents that are going to be controlling what's going on. And my clients' outcomes, the best outcomes that I do are the outcomes that are family-wide. When mum and dad, kids are doing it. Mum and dad might know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. The kids are just eating whole food because that's what they get at home. That's what they get in their school lunch. And if they go to a party and eat some cake and some fizzy drink, well, so be it. You can only control what you can control.
Yay!
Yeah.
I really love the answer with that. And coming back onto the side of research, because that's one of my very, very big areas of interest with it all. What is kind of going on in New Zealand, and are you guys looking at any sort of research or anything over there?
Yeah, absolutely. We've basically, I wouldn't say dropped all our other research, but we've really just refocused all our research into this area. So we've had some good stuff go through our research team and through our postgrad students. And just to give you an idea, our postgrad students have looked at. I had a guy look at LCHF in powerlifters, which was really good. Did a case study of 6, and that's in the publication process at the moment. We have had someone look at LCHF during menopause. Again, not randomized trials. These were just master's projects, so they were kind of like little pilots, real studies asking real people real questions. So while there was the measures before and after, we focused quite a bit on actually talking to the people, finding out, did you enjoy eating this way? How did you feel? Do you think this is sustainable long term? How did it fit in your family? That kind of stuff. We have done a small randomized control on the New Zealand Defence Force, and we found some really good outcomes. We're in the process of publishing that at the moment, where we did, standard group and then LCHF group. Interestingly, we didn't prescribe any calorie-controlled diets. It was just this is the way you need to eat for the next 12 weeks for optimal health. This is the way you need to eat this, for optimal health over the next 12 weeks, and looked at weight and bloods and all sorts of things over the 12 weeks. And we did find a statistically significant change in weight in favor of LCHF, surprisingly, unsurprisingly, and also we found a statistically significant decrease in their triglycerides. And we found an increase in their HDL. It wasn't statistically significant, but it was, it was a good trend there. So for a small RCT, that's great. A lot of people say to us, well, why did you do these studies? And I'm like, well, give us the money and we'll do it. Like you need a lot of money to conduct a big trial where you control for everything beautifully. It's hard to do, and we don't have symbolic wards and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we've also done. We've also just finished a study called Low Carb Kids, and that was a Health Research Council funded study, which was great. We really appreciative of that money that came in. It was a little feasibility trial on 25 families putting their kids on LCHF, whole food, between the ages of 8 and 13, and that was a specific weight loss study. And we're busy analysing results at the moment. It's a one-off, so of course no control group. We did see overall a drop in weight, a drop in triglycerides, and a slight increase in HDL. So similar kind of pattern, but we don't have stats on that yet. We did focus groups as well, and we are analysing that too. Yeah, presenting that later on in the conference. Yeah. And then I've got a student looking at from a sports performance point of view, looking at LCHF and the immune system, which is going to be really, really interesting because, of course, the immune system and carbohydrate are supposedly so intricately linked. We want to see the effect of LCHF, of acute LCHF on the immune system, and then sort of chronic LCHF on the immune system. So that's just starting, and that's going to be really, really good. Yeah.
Wow, those sound so exciting. Can I come and work in your lab, Caryn? The one question as well I have with it is, how are you finding the papers getting accepted into journals? Are you finding there is a bit of kind of resistance through there as well?
Well, yeah, interesting question. So we've had a PhD student come through, a pharmacist named Caryn Crofts, and she, kind of a long story, but basically, long story short, she's focused her doctoral work on hyperinsulinemia, and she's looked at a massive database of lifelong work of insulin curves and glucose curves, and she has just published 2 papers on hyperinsulinemia in Diabetes Journal, and she was really successful in getting those review papers into the journal, which is great. Some of our other work has been bumped a little bit, and I don't think it's because it's LCHF. I think it's just because some of the journals are quite competitive, and if you don't have an RCT, if you've got a one-arm trial or a case study trial with focus groups, it's not sexy enough for some journals. So it sort of gets passed along. And then of course it's a money thing for the open access journals. You've got to have like a $2,000 up your sleeve to publish, and for student work that can be quite tricky. The thing is that we don't give up. We don't give up. My first PhD paper took a 1.5 years to get published.
Wow.
And bumped from so many journals. It wasn't a particularly sexy paper, but I just thought it's all about resilience. So I just tried, and eventually it got published. When people look and go, "Why aren't you publishing?" It's like, we are.
We're trying.
It'll come. And I think very sciencey, technical, lab-based stuff has, RCT-based stuff has more of a chance of flying into journals. And I'm not saying we're not doing robust research at all. We are doing robust research, but we're doing translational research, and that is just as important as that efficacy stuff. A lot of which has been done.
Yeah, it's about now showing how you can live it in the real world, essentially. Yeah. Amazing. Oh, that's really exciting, Caryn.
I mean, your work is so inspiring. You are so inspiring. What you're doing, and what I love about you is that you don't just talk about it and reference other people's stuff and studies. Like, you're actually doing the studies yourself. Like, you are creating the change that we're so desperately needing to see. And I so admire you for that. I know you've been through a really tough time. I know you're still fighting some really tough battles, and you keep going, you know, and it's just so special. It really is. I have so much admiration and respect for you.
Thank you.
So thank you for what you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's really, really so special. And just in closing off,
yeah. I was going to say it's easy to do what you're really passionate about. Like, none of this stuff phases me. And if I end up getting kicked out as a dietitian, it's like, well, so be it. I'm changing people's lives, and that's totally worthwhile doing, whether I'm a registered dietitian or an unregistered dietitian. So it's easy and it's awesome, and I love it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And just in closing, because we're conscious of your time, and also people want needing to get to work in South Africa and the UK. I see they're like, oh, we need to get to work. We need to get to work in the comment section. What are your top 3 tips for sugar-free living?
Top 3 tips for sugar-free living. One would have to be, and this is like the bottom line, is eat foods that don't come in packets. The second one would be, if you can help it, don't shop at the supermarket. And number 3 is surround yourself with good, supportive people who are also living sugar-free, and then you are more likely to succeed long-term.
Amazing. I absolutely love that. And for those watching the replay, thank you for joining us. And please click on the offer and get Caryn and Grant and Craig's book. It really is absolutely fantastic, and it's really pretty as well. And I promise you, these recipes are ridiculously phenomenal. I mean, come on, look at that. And they focus a lot on vegetables, which I haven't found many of the LCHF books do. So I love that. I love the thing about growing your own. I think you guys really have gone to a different level, you know. So the book is different. It really is different. So thank you for joining us. We've loved having you here. Yay! And we'll post all the links to your Facebook page and your website and everything in the comments section of the YouTube channel, the blog post, and also here.
Cool.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.